Welcome to the Georgia Lacrosse Officials Association presentation on out of bounds and offsides, NFHS boys lacrosse rules. In this case, we are using the rules for the 2025 season. All right, so remember, out of bounds is one of our key definitions. This is Rule 4.6, right? So we've got a loose ball that is touching on or beyond a boundary line or breaking a plane is awarded to the team that did not last touch it. Think basketball. A player in possession is out of bounds if the player or cross touches the boundary or beyond. So in this case, we have legal contact from the side on number 7, and he goes out of bounds in possession of the ball, and then we have this quick restart, and we get the play going again. Again, it's just a loss of possession. And remember, with a shot, you're going to award the ball to the inbounds player closest to where and when it went out of bounds. So, out of bounds mechanics. Again, I cannot stress this enough. If I am working games and I'm with somebody who I've never worked before, one of the things I like to focus on is what do their mechanics look like? Because if I feel you have good mechanics, that you're signaling well and you're in the right spot, I feel like I can trust you and I don't have to watch parts of the field that I really should not be watching. So again, this is something in your controllables that you can get really good at, and you can look like you know what you're doing even when you are really trying to muddle your way through your first lacrosse season, okay? So get to the line where the out of bounds is occurring and raise your hand and blow your whistle simultaneously with that dead ball signal, okay? And then we need to know who's going to get the ball. So you are going to point in the direction of play, and you're going to say green, and then always add the word ball. You don't need to scream this. You don't need to look angry. But by saying ball, that hard consonant makes it really easy for people to understand what the color was you said before. If you just say the color, sometimes people can get confused. And remember, you may be working a game with multiple fields and multiple events going on around at the same time. So, again, communicating is really important. Now, hold your point for a second so your partner can see what's going on and other people can see what's going on. If I am actually doing my job as your partner, I'm not looking at what you're looking at. So I need a moment to get over to find you to say, okay, which direction are we going in? Am I the lead? Am I the trail? What's happening here? Then your hand's going to go back up because we're not ready. Is your partner ready? Is the player with the ball in bounds? Is there no offensive player within 5 yards? Is there a defensive player within 5 yards that we have to worry about on the restart? All of these things are important. Somebody calling a timeout, right? So you can glance at your partner, and if he's giving you the ready point, we now know that we're ready to go. And we're going to wind it in from that hand being held high. Signals are really important. Practice this. Learn this mechanic, okay? So once you get this down, you'll do this a billion times during your career. Every single time. This is a little video that GLOA member Gordon Corsetti did a number of years ago, and it's still a perfect example of what a good restart should look like.
In this video, we're going to look at out-of-bounds mechanics for the lead and the trail official. So to get an example of a correct out-of-bounds whistle and restart, we're going to look at the lead official here as White takes a shot on goal and it misses going out of bounds on the end line. So here the White player passes to his teammate. We have a miss out of bounds. And now a nice, easy out of bounds here for the lead official. He does a very fine job signaling and restarting play. Let's look at that one more time. Here's the shot. Dead ball signal with the whistle, a directional point, and then hand back up to signal dead ball and to be ready for the ensuing restart. In this video,
So great example, right? Here is another example, and you can see the officials here. So we have a pass to the end line, and he doesn't quite get it. Maybe the sun's in his eyes, it goes out of bounds. And you see the officials transitioning because they know what direction things are going in. Now, in this case, the trail official knows exactly what's happening. This is a ball that was thrown out of bounds by the red team, and so we're going to have a change of possession, and white will now be clearing. So let's watch this again. Right, so it's at about hand up, point, hand back up, and we're going to blow it back in from there. This is that clip we saw in our out of bounds. So you see that players are jockeying for position. It's right at the substitution box. We are right there. The ball's right on the line, and everybody's struggling. White picks it up, flings it back, and off we go. Okay, so this is good stuff. We wanna make sure we're in position, and that we're not just saying it's out of bounds when it's not out of bounds. Remember, a shot out of bounds is the body of the player, not the cross, and you've got to be closest to where it was when it went out of bounds, and you must be in bounds as a player. Here is a example. So we have a shot, right? And that white player, 43, is going to take off right here, and he is going to be closest to where it was out of bounds when it was out of bounds. All right, so here we go. We got the behind the back shot, and both players are going to dive. Red gets this. It is very clear that red is inbounds, and he is closer to where it was out of bounds when it went out of bounds. Here's another example, right? White is diving, but we're definitely going to award this, right? Now that's a tough one, okay? And so this is why we get paid the big bucks, fellas. You got to make a call, okay? White does a great job of sort of getting just in front of him to make sure that he gets awarded this ball. But this is an exciting play. You've got to be decisive. You got to make the call. Um, all right, this was a big controversial play a couple of years ago, and I'm actually remarkably uninterested in the controversy for the purposes of what we're talking about here. But let's watch this shot. So white's going to shoot, and we get a ricochet here. And the ball's about to go out of bounds. I want you to understand that the closest player can be on the other side of the field. So as this play continues, let me get right back to here. We've got a lot of bodies here, and so it's the closest inbound player. It doesn't say the closest inbound player on the offensive side of the field, okay? So if you get one of these weird ricochets that goes over to the midline, you really got to hustle to get into position to make sure that you can make this call. All right, line responsibilities. Um, right, this is the direction of play. So the lead is responsible, or the far side official, I should say, is responsible for the far sideline, right? In this case, the trail cannot help you out if we have an out of bounds play on the far sideline. The lead is always going to be responsible for their end line, okay? The trail is responsible in this case for the bench sideline, and the trail is responsible for the midline. Now, if we decide to change the direction of play, there's a turnover, we're going the other way, this trail becomes the new lead, and they are responsible for that end line, right? So they're going to be working in and out. And then the new trail is going to come up to the cone. They're going to have secondary responsibilities for that midline, and then they're going to come into their position 5 yards in, 5 yards up, right at the 35-yard line. And we're going to repeat this whole thing, right? So again, far side official is responsible for the far sideline. Near side official is responsible for the bench sideline. Each lead is always going to be responsible for their end line. And you're going to swap back and forth on midline responsibilities. The new lead, or the trail, has the initial offsides. The new trail coming up has the secondary offsides. So ball out on the sideline, right? You want to move directly to the sideline. Don't go to the ball. Don't go to where the players are. Go to where you can put yourself in the best position to see who's closer and then make your call from there. So in this case, the ball's going to the sideline. You want to be right on that sideline, looking down to see, does he keep it in bounds? Does he step out of bounds? If there's multiple bodies going, make sure that you're in a position to make the call. If you're in the right position and make the wrong call, nobody can really argue with you. If you're in the wrong position and make the right call, you don't have a leg to stand on. So here's a contested end line play off of a shot. Restart, quick turnover, and goal. We've seen this, but I want to watch this in particular for the lead official who's responsible for both the goal and the end line. So our lead official hustling down. We have a shot. He continues to run to the end line. And in this case, right, the ball went out over by where the M and the I and mill are on this football end zone. And so even though white is close to the end line, they're not close to where the ball was when it went out of bounds, where it went out of bounds. Now we restart play. We're going to make sure we restart it in the right spot. So we're going to move Mr. Man back here over closer to the M and the I. We'll restart play. And then we're going to come around here and we're going to take a shot and we'll get a clear. Remember, all our counts are going now, our 4 count, our 20 count. We've got a quick pickup here and we're going to come in, dump it off, score the goal, and the official's going to come in and make this play. You've got to be able to transition to all these different skill sets, okay? And first time you do a game, it's a lot. To be honest, it's a lot when you've done this for a long time. So again, go from your out of bounds responsibilities to your crease responsibilities. Your key will always put you in the position that you need to be in. So let's talk about offsides. The offense and the defense are limited in the number of players they are allowed to have on each side, and this includes people in the penalty box. Okay, um, so no more than 7 defensive players can be on the defensive side of the ball. Now, if you've got somebody in the penalty box, that means no more than 6 defensive players can be in their defensive end. And then you're not allowed any more than 6 offensive players. So if you're on offense, but your guy is serving a penalty, now you're only allowed 5. Team is not considered offside if a team has too few players at either end of the field. You have not gained any advantage if you have too few defensemen or too few offensive players, right? You actually put yourself at a substantial disadvantage. So what we want to make sure is that we are doing what we call counting forwards. The new lead will have the quick offsides, right? So on a ball rolling towards the midline, the trail who's about to become the new lead needs to watch for that initial offsides, because if you literally, if you've got your 7 defensive players on one side and the ball's rolling up towards the line and one of your guys steps on the midline, he's now offsides. Once play sort of moves away from the midline, as the new trail comes up, they will get the secondary offensive side call, right? What I want to tell you is 2 things. The way you get good at offsides, and it can be very confusing because the ball's being passed and shot and there's contact and you're worried about safety and you're trying to get in the right position and you got counts going on. You want to make sure you are always counting. Always know how many players are on the field at any one time. And so what you do is you count team A first. It is a hell of a lot easier to score a goal if you've got an extra guy. So count the offense first. Now, I'll tell you this, we already know that there are 3 offensive players, 3 attackmen are going to be down hanging out by their goal. So really, you're only counting the 3 midfielders that are coming over, or a defenseman who's carrying the ball over on a clear, right? It doesn't matter what position the goalie can be bringing up the ball. It's the number of players, not the type of player. Once you've counted team A and you're like, okay, these guys got 6 guys, great. Now we're going to count defensive players. I do not count the goalie, so I'm also only counting to 6. And really, I'm only counting to 3 because I know we have 3 defensive players, right? As I'm running in transition, I am counting to make sure that we're going to be okay. All right, so this is what we call counting forwards. In this case, we're going to have red has the ball here. Let's say this is a turnover, change of possession, and everybody's hurtling down the field on a fast break. The trail has become the new lead. The lead has become the new trail. And so we are going to hurtle on down the way, right? The lead is going to get into his spot, right above GLE, and there he's counting as he's going. We often say that this is a one-man game until the trail is in position. The trail may need to hang back and watch the goalie after he's released a pass, make sure that there's no shenanigans going on. So the trail's coming up kind of slowly. So you can't always count on the trail being in position to help you out. And so, like I said, we already know that there are 3 red attackmen who are in this spot. And so really all the lead is doing is counting the 4, 5, and 6. But we will notice that this 7th guy has stepped over, okay? And we want to make sure that we catch that. If you don't catch it as the lead because all this stuff is going on, you're hoping that the trail is going to catch it, because the trail is literally doing the same thing. The trail is going to have the first 3 guys, C4, 5, and 6, and he may be watching that 7th guy to see whether he steps over. One of the things I will say is if you're coming up as the trail and you have no idea what's going on, but you see that 7th guy, the guy up by the 50, you see him step over, count him as 1. Even if he walks back onto the other side of the field, you knew he was on the other side of the field. So you count him as 1, and then you count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, yes, 7. They were offsides. right? And we're always going to count offense first, right? So that trail is going to count again. Always be counting. All right, so here we're counting forwards, and in this case, we're counting the defense. So let's assume that we are, we've got a change of possession here. Red is going right to left, and we are going to assume that this is the lead's responsibility, right? So he's coming across. We're going to count our offense first. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6. Now I'm going to count the defense. Once again, I am going to assume, because I know, because I've been paying attention during the game, and I'm seeing this as I'm running down the field, we've got 3 defensemen, right? We've got a goalie. I don't care about the goalie. We have to have a goalie, right? Have to have a legally equipped goalie. So I've got 3 guys, and I see quickly that I've got 3 more blue shirts, but then I realize that we've got 7, right? Somebody should have stayed back and did not. And so we are going to have offsides here, right? Now the trail is going to, if you miss this because boom, bang, bang plays on the crease, blah, 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 the trail is going to do the same thing. We are going to count the 3 guys. We're going to see the 3 midfielders, and then we're going to say, hey, wait a second, something's wrong here. It does not matter that there are only 2 blue guys back on the Blues offensive side, because somebody could have subbed out. It just because there's only 2 blue guys on the offensive side of the field doesn't mean there's too many on the defensive side of the field, and vice versa. So you have to count. Always be counting. That is the key thing. Here is a great example of ways to do this. So white gets the ball. We're playing him. Blue has fallen over the midline, right? So what I'm doing in my head is I'm thinking he's 1. This guy's 2. And I'm going to be counting, assuming I'm counting that blue guy as having been on that side of the field, right? So let's see it again. He's clearly over. So if there are 6 defensemen or defenders on this side of the field, he's the 7th. Here's another example of a similar play here. Number 10, trying to prevent him from getting over, gets legally checked and pushed over the midline. So this official has been counting. He already knows we've got the right number of guys. That guy's 1 too many. And here's an even sneakier version of this. So 7's going to come across, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 offensive players, right? Count them up. You want to catch this quick. This is why we count offense first. Now, I will say, they're offsides. It is better to count and count again and make sure you get it right than it is to count, think you have it right, stop the play, and now you got to wave off flags or reassign possession, right? It's better to be late and right. So count again, always be counting. All right. Again, my name is Greg Height. I'm the GLOA lead trainer and a USA Lacrosse clinician. Please email me with any information or questions that you have. If you find a mistake, let me know. If you've got a suggestion on what I might add, please let me know. And if you've just got a rules question or want to talk something out, I'd be happy to chat with you. All right. Thanks for listening.